Hello, and welcome to another webinar from Awin, the Global Affiliate Marketing Network. My name is Rob Davidson, and I work here at Awin as the content analyst in the network's global strategy team. And today I wanted to talk to you about the nature of customer loyalty in the modern digital marketplace and how this concept has undergone radical transformation over the last couple of decades. It's a transformation that is inextricably linked to the rise of the internet and the rise of e-commerce and its global adoption. And it's one that I think has had significant ramifications for advertisers and how they can effectively reach their audiences today. And it's a transformation that I believe has placed ever more importance upon the status of affiliates and how they can help brands reach these same audiences. Now, this transformation means consumers are finding their information across a broad range of sources, from comparison sites, loyalty platforms, social media, personalities, sites offering the best deals, amongst many, many others. And these audiences are building new loyalties with these properties who they trust to guide them when making online purchases. Because of this displacement of consumer trust, such affiliate services now fulfill a vitally important role in marketing in terms of inspiration, awareness, and ultimately sales and conversions. So today I'll be discussing a little bit about how we've reached this age of consumer disloyalty and the new importance of building relationships with brand partners to remain competitive online. I wanted, first of all, though, to start by defining what we mean by loyalty in this sense and acknowledging that it doesn't really equate to the other ways in which we tend to use it in our lives more generally. Brand loyalty really isn't the same as the kind of loyalty that you show to your family, for instance, or the loyalty that you show to your partner, or even perhaps your football team. Brand loyalty tends to mean those companies you buy from who you wouldn't consider buying a similar product or service from a rival competitor. So this might be due to the positive associations you have around a particular brand, the great customer experience that they offer, for instance, or perhaps maybe the social status that you accrue by buying that brand's products and what that then says about you as a person to your peers. So there's been a lot of research that's been undertaken over the last few years that looks into this notion of brand loyalty and how, to a large extent, the phenomenon is rapidly decreasing. The accountancy firm Deloitte conducted one such study with consumers in the US and found that between 2007 and 2015, the number of shoppers who could actually identify a favorite retailer had dropped by around 60%. And based on that figure, Deloitte suggested that this amounted to a loss of around $32 billion in profits for those same brands. Now, a more recent study was published a little earlier this year by the data insights firm Nielsen, and that corroborated those same findings. In it, they found that just 8% of consumers considered themselves to be firmly loyal to a brand. So that means that for around 92% of those consumers, they have no qualms whatsoever in shopping around and buying from different advertisers and retailers. And in fact, what they found in their survey was that the prospect of experimenting with new brands was a rising phenomenon amongst shoppers compared to 5 years ago, and that for almost half of them, that prospect was very much an enjoyable experience. Now, this dynamic between consumers and brands has radically altered, and this is largely down, I think, to the effects of the internet. The web has empowered individuals, giving them more choice and more control over every facet of their lives. Whether you need a new bank, a new job, or even a new lover, all of these things are attainable now with the click of a few buttons. And shopping is no different. E-commerce provides more choice and more control over where and how consumers can spend their money. And in doing so, it's really eroded the loyalty that any consumers might have had towards any one or single brand. So let's take a look at how this relationship between consumers and brands has really changed. So before the internet, consumers were faced by a very finite selection of retailers and brands that they could conceivably access. And this was mostly due to the physical boundaries that confronted them. So did the retailer have a physical presence in the local area? Did they have a shop where footfall might naturally come across their particular brand or products? Did the retailer have a means of delivering those goods to those consumers in that geographical region? Was the retailer able to promote its products or services to the customer, again, in that physical space? And the internet profoundly changed all of these obstacles and hurdles. Physical stores were no longer a necessity. The logistics of delivery became far simpler, and online advertising was able to reach anyone, anywhere with an internet connection at a far cheaper rate. Now, this necessarily reduced the barriers to entry for retailers and brands and led to a far more competitive space where more and more of them were vying for that same consumer's attention. Now, whilst there were undoubted benefits to this new influx of competition for consumers, it also led to consumers being overwhelmed by choice, with the wide variety of competing brands and products arguably making it more difficult than ever to choose the one you actually wanted to purchase. And this is a phenomenon that's widely recognized by psychologists as being known as the paradox of choice. There's a great TED talk by a psychologist and author called Barry Schwartz that I would definitely recommend checking out on this same particular subject. And it's a sentiment I think is particularly well summed up by this Aldi TV advert from Australia.
Dad, I want to look at this.
Tomato and basil, crushed tomato and basil. Diced tomato and basil, crushed tomato and fresh basil, whole tomato and basil, Italian tomato and basil, basil tomato and basil.
Puree tomato.
Dad! Whoa! Where have you been?
Don't waste your life in the sauce aisle. Unlike other supermarkets, Aldi only stocks the best, so you save time and money. That's good different.
So this paradox of choice has arguably prompted the need for some form of guidance or arbitration for individual consumers. Now, these arbitrators have always existed in some form or another. Shoppers have always sought out advice and guidance prior to buying a new product or from a new brand via friends and family, via newspaper reviews, magazine articles, TV and radio shows, for example. But the volume of consumer choice that the internet facilitated has placed ever more importance upon these sources of advice and recommendation. And the appetite for those services has arguably laid the foundations for an entire industry of arbitration. In this world of infinite choice, we need these trusted shortcuts. So let's take the example of booking a summer holiday to demonstrate this act of arbitration and the value that it provides to consumers. So you might initially be inspired to check out a particular destination or country by a blogger or influencer whose photography or travel diary incite you to consider that as a destination to spend your leisure time or holiday in. You might then search out more information on the destination and recommended local accommodation via an established media house's travel magazine site or a community forum where fellow travelers have shared their experiences of visiting that same destination before. And then to ensure you're getting the absolute best value for your money, you might go to a price comparison or meta search site or go to a cashback or discount code site. Now, all of these sites play an invaluable role in helping consumers find the right brand or right product for them. Now, all this isn't to suggest that there is no such thing as brand loyalty anymore, though. Amazon's Prime scheme is a perfect illustration of modern brand loyalty in action. Amazon's approach has always been quite simple: understand what customers most value and then find a solution that they then consider a clear personal benefit that they are willing to return to repeatedly and pay for. Back in 2005, Amazon surveyed customers on the biggest issues they face when purchasing items online. The biggest was the cost of delivery and shipping, so they removed this cost immediately as part of their Prime membership, instantly setting the service apart from its competitors. And that's been a hugely effective tactic for them. Today, Amazon has over 100 million Prime members in the US alone who pay $99 per year for those benefits. And their customer retention rate for members after a year is around 93%, and after 2 years is a staggering 98%. So by bundling in additional service benefits like the exclusive sales and savings members get access to on Prime Day, or the free media content they can access through Prime Video, Prime Music, and Prime Reading, Amazon makes its offering an increasingly compelling one to remain loyal to. And those loyal members are clearly of value to Amazon because they spend more than double the amount of money on the site that non-members do. However, a rare misstep from Amazon provides an enlightening example, I think, of where customer loyalty arguably ends and customer complacency begins. So Amazon's Dash buttons were launched in 2015 and provided customers with a physical button they could install at home and press when they ran out of a selection of household goods. That might be anything from dried pasta to laundry detergent, pet food, for example, a whole host of different household goods. But following a legal case in Germany this year that successfully argued that these buttons violated consumer protection laws there because the prices weren't actually displayed at the point of purchase, those buttons have now been discontinued by Amazon. And the ruling is an interesting one as it clearly demonstrates an example of regulators attempting to protect and extend customer choice and ensure that shoppers are empowered to decide who they actually buy from. The Amazon Dash ruling is just one example of a general current trend towards this kind of customer empowerment. And in fact, we can see a concerted push coming from regulators and policymakers around the world, but particularly, I think, in Europe, which is focused upon improving customer choice, removing the friction from e-commerce, and generally making it easier to change your product or service provider in industries that have historically been quite difficult to navigate and alter your status within as an individual consumer. Now, the EU's digital single market is probably the biggest illustration of this kind of project, with one of its three core pillars being to provide better access for consumers and businesses to digital goods and services across Europe. It's PSD2 legislation, that's the Payment Services Directive, which was launched at the start of January last year, promises to revolutionize how individuals can manage their finances and financial data online. And its UK offshoot, Open Banking, has already helped to usher in a new surge of innovation in the fintech sector there. Now, telecoms is another sector that is ripe for this kind of disruption. And in the UK, the trade body Ofcom's new initiative, Fairness for Customers, is designed to make it ever easier for customers to switch their providers. Following the introduction of their Text-to-Switch legislation on the 1st of July in 2019, which allows users to more easily change their phone contract via text, Awin monitored the effects across its various telecoms programs to see how the legislation change might impact consumer behavior. Sure enough, we've seen a massive amount of activity following the change in law. The week-on-week and year-on-year changes witnessed across SIM-only and handset deals all showed a positive uplift, with the week that the law was enacted representing the third biggest performing week the market has ever seen on the network, behind only those cyber weeks of 2016 and 2018, which are traditionally where we see the most activity within this particular sector. Now, if the loss of brand loyalty is in part thanks to increased choice and the new legal frameworks and regulation empowering consumers, it may also be because of changing attitudes and expectations from younger generations too. This was something that Steve Easterbrook, McDonald's current CEO, recognized back in 2014 when he characterized millennial customers as being more promiscuous and harder to earn the loyalty of thanks to the amount of choice that they now had. However, that loyalty can be earned by engaging users in online spaces where they feel most comfortable. The American PR and marketing consultancy Edelman publishes an annual trust barometer where it considers what consumers' perception of brands is around the world. And its most recent 2019 edition highlighted precisely this point, suggesting that for 2/3 of 18 to 34-year-olds, the information that they received from influencers they followed about a brand was actually more trustworthy than that which they received directly from the brand itself. And one recent example from Awin demonstrated the success of incorporating this kind of approach into a brand strategy. So VOXI is the name of Vodafone's newly launched youth mobile offering, providing younger customers with contracts that suit their specific needs. They have a target market of under 25-year-olds, and Awin was tasked with supporting the launch of the new brand with a campaign that would both raise awareness of the new brand as well as driving sales for them. And by partnering with the social influencer network The Hook, Awin coordinated a social video campaign with a selection of prominent influencers whose audiences accurately matched VOXI's target market. Thanks to the relevance of the campaign and its promotion by these trusted influencers, The campaign surpassed all expectations and targets, amassing 50% more impressions than was originally set, 27% more sales, and all while still keeping the acquisition cost 16% below budget. Similarly, in the Netherlands, Awin helped the bank Centraal Beheer market their insurance products to a younger audience than normal by partnering them with the local student proposition Studentenbox. This business provides what is literally a student box to new students moving out of their family homes and into university for the first time. Such a relocation is traditionally a major change for young adults, and the Studentenbox provides them with a helping hand in these early days by providing a mix of useful recommendations, advice, and a selection of freebies that have been tailored to this younger demographic. Awin coordinated a partnership that promoted one simple, dedicated product, home insurance for students, alongside a compelling offer of a free coffee maker, which saw huge success. Now, the campaign saw hundreds of new leads generated for the bank from a younger market that they would ordinarily have struggled to get any engagement from, and in doing so, it opened up a new seam of business in a space that hadn't existed before for them. Of course, a large part of the success of these two campaigns comes down to the level of trust that audiences have with the publisher sites that they use. If we think back to the earlier slide that outlined that dynamic between consumers and brands, it's really important to emphasize the direction of the arrows between the consumer and the arbitrators they use online. The dynamic is a proactive one for the consumer. They're actively visiting these websites, seeking out their content or guidance or support in helping them to understand which products or brands best match their personal requirements. Brands that are able to identify the sites that most align with their target audience and who share similar values can leverage this trusted relationship to market themselves more effectively online. Another example of this was our work with Computronic, who are a leading electronics retailer in Poland, and they wanted to engage with local content producers. Recognizing the growing popularity of YouTube product reviewers in this region, Awin coordinated partnerships with 4 of the most popular channels in the electronics sector. In doing so, Computronic were benefiting not only from exposure to a combined audience of over 500,000 subscribers, but they're also being positively associated with YouTubers that were trusted authorities on quality electronic products. The loyalty that those local audiences had for these YouTubers was a value that Computronic could then tap into themselves, extending their own brand value in that market. Again, the campaign was hugely effective. Traffic, sales, and revenue targets were all comfortably exceeded, and the exposure Computronic saw from these partnerships helped to boost its status within Poland as a trusted retailer for electronics. And this concept around users' proactive engagement with such online arbitrators is becoming an increasingly important one in light of digital advertising's evolving relationship with personal data. Awin commissioned a consumer survey of 1,800 European consumers to find out not only how often they turn to online sources to help them make purchases, but also how important they are to them. The survey was both qualitative and quantitative. So not only did we want to understand how frequently shoppers interacted with affiliate content, but we also wanted to know how important that content is in helping them to make better decisions. We also segmented consumers by age, so we were able to see whether there are universal trends or indeed trends that retailers need to be aware of when marketing to different age groups. By commissioning this survey, we hope to get a better appreciation of how embedded affiliate content is in a typical shopping journey, and the importance of retailers building stronger partnerships with publishers in order to both drive new customers and also cement loyalty through the relationship. So what did we find? Well, overall, 2/3 of consumers have made use of them at least once in the last 6 months, with price comparison sites being the most popular. There are clear age differences as well that show how brands appealing to different audiences have to be aware of the nuance in which partners they choose to focus their attention on. Take the over 60s as an example. For them, only 1 in 4 believe specialist information sites have any importance in helping them with the buying decision. For shoppers in the 18 to 32-year-old bracket, though, that figure shoots up to 6 in 10. Inevitably, in an age of young influencers, it should come as no surprise that 18 to 32-year-olds are twice as likely than the average to see social media as a starting point for their shopping experience. For the same age groups, twice as many younger consumers have made buying decisions based on discount sites offering codes, coupons, and offers compared to older shoppers. More broadly, while shoppers may not make use of them, a massive 4 in 5 consumers believe price comparison sites have an important role to play in informing them, with 3/4 saying the same about coupon and voucher portals. The survey also found that the majority of shoppers wanted ad-funded content, that they preferred a world where these services are offered for free and paid for through advertising budgets. While overall the figure was 53%, this rose to an overwhelming 82% of 18 to 32-year-olds, drawing a stark distinction between the ages. It's clear that millennials expect the internet to be free at point of access. The challenge for brands and marketers is how to walk the tricky tightrope in avoiding overstepping the mark when it comes to invading people's privacy and monetizing their personal data without user consent. Inevitably, in an era of GDPR, we can expect programmatic and display advertising to be on the receiving end of both regulators and a better informed public, with a backlash about how these businesses and models use personal data for marketing purpose. By contrast, affiliate marketing and marketing that involves partnerships with these online arbitrators, who have already built up trust of their audiences, is much better suited to our privacy-conscious era. Only the most basic data is tracked in order for affiliate tracking to function, and this makes the value exchange that sits at the heart of the online ad industry that much more palatable for consumers to accept. As our survey shows, the affiliates have cemented themselves at the heart of consumers' purchase decisions, and without the need to use intrusive and overbearing uses of personal data. In fact, many of them have built user bases up in the millions. Much of this growth has been through word of mouth, positive growth through consumers wanting to let their friends and families know about new ways to shop. Now, while our survey data showed that consumers are reluctant to part with their personal data in exchange for being marketed to, affiliates have to make the value exchange clear to their users in order for them to continue engaging with their content. Take Vouchercloud as an example. They're now owned by Groupon and one of the largest affiliates in the UK. They have an app that uses geolocation data. Consumers have to opt in to being targeted based on their location and to then receive push notifications. With that in mind, Vouchercloud ingeniously used their app to target consumers at Christmas. A hotel advertiser wanted to use geo-targeting to target potential customers via mobile over the Christmas party period who may have missed their last train home. Vouchercloud set up geofences around popular train stations in central London that would then send hotel offers to those users who entered the vicinity of the station after the last train had actually departed. The campaign was hugely effective and proved popular with Vouchercloud's users, suggesting that they were happy to have a deal targeted at them where there was a clear relevance to them and their particular needs. For us, there are a few better examples that showcase the power of the clear value exchange that affiliates are offering in this privacy-conscious era. And this is ultimately, I think, why the affiliate model can prove itself to be such an effective form of advertising in the current climate. From the influencers and bloggers who inspire us to the online news sites, magazine titles, and community forums who inform us, and the price comparison, cashback, and coupon platforms that help us to get more for our money, all of these services deliver a value that we are happy to be loyal to as individuals. A final statistic from our survey showed that 1 in 3 millennials have no loyalty to any brands. Even among the over 60s, just 1 in 5 say they are loyal to more than 5 brands. This is a clear manifestation of the new era we find ourselves in. So to conclude, I wanted to finish on a quote from Terry Leahy, the former CEO of the UK supermarket chain Tesco, and a pioneer of one of the biggest and most successful supermarket loyalty schemes ever seen, which is the Tesco Club Card. And he said that the true source of loyalty is to create benefits for people. And that's a sentiment that I think sums up well the point I've been trying to make today. Online arbitrators like the ones we've highlighted throughout this webinar provide these benefits to millions of people every day around the world for free. And the affiliate channel is home to many of them, helping brands constantly connect with customers, both new and old, and ensuring that they remain competitive online. So thanks for joining me for today's webinar. And for more content like this, please do check out our Awin's Market Insights Hub, which you can find via our homepage on screen right now. If you head over there, you'll find a host of our latest articles, white papers, and research, based on all of the data and insights that we track across the thousands of publishers and advertisers that we work with around the world. And you'll also find our regular monthly podcast, which you can tune into too. So thanks for tuning in, and goodbye.